Hello, my friends! Today I'm inviting you to draw a full botanical illustration of a strawberry from the very first sketch to the final touches. This video is a speed-up version, so you'll be able to watch the entire process in just one sitting, from the structure of the leaves to the tiny seeds of the fruit. But if you'd like to dive deeper and follow along with me step by step, I've created full-length tutorials with detailed explanations of each stage. Those are available on my Patreon in the Botanical Explorer tier. Now let's get started! So, as you can see, we already have a finished line drawing of the strawberry. Now, we're going to use this outline to draw first the flowers, then the leaves, and of course the juicy berries. Let's go step by step and bring this beauty to life. As usual, I start by gently lightening my pencil sketch using a kneaded eraser, just enough so that the lines are barely visible. Now I start with the petals. Since strawberry petals are white, I use a light touch to make sure my stroke stays soft and silvery. This keeps the flower looking light and delicate. I apply my pencil strokes from the edge of the petal toward the center. You'll notice I'm leaving a small line of space around the petal edges. This gives the illusion of thickness and helps the petals feel more three-dimensional. Next, I switch to a softer pencil to draw the stamens, these tiny dark parts around the center. Since they're much darker than the petals, it's important that we didn't make the petals too dark earlier. I draw small oval shapes for the tops of the stamens and then add thin lines, like little legs, going toward the center of the flower. Now let's work on the center of the flower. I draw small circles very close together, creating a kind of dotted pattern. This gives the texture we see in real strawberry flower. On the right side of the center, I add some shading to show that it's slightly raised. This makes the center feel round and 3D, as if it's popping off the paper a little. And now it's time to draw the sepals, the small green parts between the petals. They're darker than the petals, so I press a bit more firmly with the pencil. And I divide each sepal in half and shade from the outer edge toward the center. And just like before, I make the shading near the base of the flower darker. This increases the contrast and helps add volume. And now for the final detail. I add very small, gentle pencil lines along the edge of each petal. This subtle outline helps give the petals thickness and extra dimension. Wonderful! We have now finished the first flower in our illustration. Let's move on to the second one. Okay, let's draw the second flower. As you can see, this one is turned slightly to the side. We're seeing it more in profile. And we'll follow the same steps as with the first flower. I start by shading the petals. Now let's draw the stamens again. They should be darker than the petals, just like in the first flower. Around the stamens, I darken the petals just a little to add more depth and help the flower center stand out. This soft shadow really makes a difference. Next, I begin drawing the flower center. I use lots of tiny circles packed closely together to create a textured pattern. This helps mimic the real look of the flower. So now we finished drawing 2 flowers and I think they look great together. Let's keep going and draw the next part, the buds. I begin drawing the petals. I use a very light touch, shading softly near the edge of each petal. The goal here is to separate the petals from one another using tone so they don't blend together. This gives a nice sense of form and depth. Let's now try to draw the leaf in the angle we want for our illustration, like this. Now I start by gently softening the sketch lines as I usually do. Next, I go over the central vein with my pencil to make it stand out more. I also add a small thickening at the base of each side vein. Now, let's begin shading. I use short pencil strokes starting from each side vein. I try to keep the pressure even so that all the strokes look soft and smooth together like one whole surface. So, we've now added shading to the central part of the leaf. Let's do the same for the side parts. The process is the same. Great! Now it's time to add shading from the central vein outward. Our goal is to make the main vein look lighter, so we need to darken the areas around it. I carefully shade on both sides, making sure not to touch the line part in the middle. Now I want to work on the edge of the leaf. I add a thin outer line to show the thickness of the leaf. I repeat the same steps for the second and third leaflets. First, the outline and thickness, then the shading from the edge to the center. At this point, let's go over the edges again and make them stand out more. I use a softer pencil HB, works well for this, and add a bit more shading along the outer edges using tiny strokes. This gives the leaf more depth and helps the outline pop even more. I do the same for the side leaflets too. Now let's draw the petiole, the small stem that connects the leaf to the main plant. The process is just like drawing the main stem. I use short strokes from the outside in, adding some gentle texture and volume. Again, be careful not to press too hard. So, we've now drawn most of the structure of the leaf. Now it's time to add the texture and show the leaves' unique pattern of veins. To do this, I use short pencil lines, but now I draw across the side veins, not along them. This creates small vertical lines that look like tiny columns. This technique helps show the real texture of a strawberry leaf and makes the drawing look more realistic. I repeat these strokes in each section between the side veins. And don't worry if your lines are not exactly the same. That's actually better. A little randomness makes the leaf look more natural and alive. Look how beautiful it turned out. Our first leaf is finished. This time we'll draw a leaf that's in the background. That means we need to make it less contrasty than the one in the front. So now let's start drawing the second leaf using the same method as we used for the first. I've prepared a reference photo from the right angle to help guide us. We'll follow the same steps, so I won't repeat all the instructions, but here's what's the most important. This leaf should look less contrasty than the first one, because it's farther away. Also, in front of it, we'll have a bright, juicy berry, and to keep the drawing balanced, the berry will need more contrast, so this leaf should stay light and soft, like it's hiding in a bit of mist. And as always, begin with the basic forms, and only then move on to the textures and small details. Now let's move on to drawing the third leaf. This one is turned slightly to the side. We see it more in profile. We'll draw it using the same method as we did for the first and second leaf, so the technique stays the same. Well, just look at how beautifully it turned out. Now, maybe strawberries might seem tricky to draw, but don't worry, I'll break the process into small and simple steps. First, we start by drawing one little seed, and then we lightly shade around it. This gives the effect of the seed sitting in a tiny indentation. To show this more clearly, I darken the area just around each seed. That's how we create the illusion of depth. Great! All the seeds are now in place. Now I want to focus more on the lighting. In this part of the berry, the one I'm pointing to now, there should be more light, and around it a bit more shadow. If you look at the photo reference, you can clearly see that the top of the berry is a little brighter and it gets darker toward the bottom. So, to create this effect and make the strawberry look three-dimensional, I use soft pencil strokes from the edge toward the center. Let's carefully work on each seed again. To do this, I darken the area just below each seed and gently add volume. I create the illusion of depth by adding a soft shadow around the seed. This makes each little dent look more three-dimensional and visually clear. It's a very detailed part of the process, but nothing too difficult. Each seed is drawn in the same way. And here's another important tip. I try to make the seeds that sit on the lighter parts of the berry more contrasty, so they pop against the bright background. In darker areas of the berry, I draw the seeds with softer tones. This way, we increase the overall feeling of volume. Now it's time to move on to the little leaves sitting above the berry. I shade using short pencil strokes going from the center of the leaf outward. This helps keep the central vein clear and adds a feeling of volume. As always, I use light and small strokes around the edge to show the thickness of the leaf. And we repeat the same steps for each small leaf. And now, let's shade the stem that holds the berry. I use short strokes from the outer edge toward the center, just like we did before. Try to follow the shape of the stem using small horizontal strokes. I shade both sides, and as I get closer to where the berry connects, I darken that part a little more. Great! Now let's draw the second strawberry, the small green one that hasn't ripened yet. I'm going to start by building the shape and form of the berry. First, I shade from the right edge towards the center. Now I carefully begin shading around each small seed, just a little bit of tone around them. This gives the berry a textured pattern, and it's a very relaxing step. And now, let's finish by drawing the little stem that connects the berry to the main part. Again, the technique is the same as with the bigger strawberry. Great! Now we have one last strawberry to draw. The third and smallest one that's slightly hidden under the main leaf. Let's go over the same steps we followed with the large strawberry, just this time on a smaller scale. And that's it. Our strawberry is totally complete. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope this video brought you some calm and inspiration and maybe encouraged you to pick up your pencils and draw something from nature today. If you enjoy this process and would like to explore botanical drawings more deeply, I'd love to see you on my Patreon. There, in the Botanical Explorer tier, you'll find full-length tutorials with voice guidance, real-time drawings, and plenty of tips to help you grow your skills with every new plant. Thanks again for being here with me. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye-bye!